My beloved child. Stop scrolling for just a moment, because what you are about to hear was not meant to pass by you unnoticed. Something has been waiting in the silence between you and the one your heart still remembers. Something unspoken. Something carried for years behind guarded eyes, unfinished conversations, and moments that seemed ordinary but were never ordinary at all. Pause here. Before your soulmate lets you go, there is something they believe they must finally tell you. And heaven has allowed this message to reach you now because the truth they buried is beginning to rise with a force they can no longer contain. Do not move away from this moment too quickly. The first part of this revelation may seem simple, but it is only the doorway. Behind it is a confession that has lived inside them longer than you know. They rehearsed it in their mind many times. They imagined your face when you heard it. They wondered whether you would forgive them for waiting so long. And every time they came close to speaking, fear closed their throat. But now something has changed. They are no longer afraid of what will happen if they tell you. They are afraid of what will happen if they do not. Your soulmate has reached an emotional threshold. They can feel distance forming, whether that distance is physical, emotional, or simply the quiet separation created by too many things left unsaid. They sense that you may be learning how to live without them. They feel you withdrawing your energy from the place where you once waited. And although they may not have admitted it, this has shaken them deeply. For a long time, they believed they had more time. More time to explain. More time to heal. More time to become brave enough to say what should have been said years ago. But time has stopped feeling endless to them. There was a moment recently when they suddenly understood that your heart cannot remain suspended forever. You cannot keep standing at the same invisible doorway, hoping they will finally walk through it. You cannot continue carrying questions they had the power to answer. You cannot keep interpreting silence when they should have given you truth. That realization did not arrive gently. It struck them in a quiet moment when there was no one around to distract them from themselves. Perhaps they were driving down a familiar road. Perhaps they saw something that reminded them of you. Perhaps your name appeared unexpectedly, or a song returned them to a memory they thought they had buried. Whatever triggered it, the effect was immediate. They saw your face in their mind. Not as you are now, but as you were in the beginning. The version of you who trusted the connection before confusion entered it. The version of you who offered warmth without demanding certainty. The version of you who sensed something sacred between you even when neither of you had language for it. And suddenly, they realized how much you had understood without being told. You felt their affection before they confessed it. You felt their fear before they showed it. You felt them pulling away before they created an explanation. You felt the truth even while they were pretending nothing extraordinary was happening. This is the first thing they should have told you years ago: you were never imagining the connection. You were not foolish. You were not reading too deeply into meaningless moments. You were not creating a story where nothing existed. They felt it too. From the beginning. Do not skip now, because this truth goes deeper than attraction, deeper than timing, and deeper than the surface reasons they once gave for keeping their distance. There was a moment, years ago, when your soulmate looked at you and felt something inside them become still. The noise of their thoughts faded. Their usual defenses weakened. For a brief second, they saw a future they had not planned. It arrived without permission, your presence beside them, your voice in their home, your hand in theirs during difficult seasons, your laughter becoming part of their ordinary days. It frightened them. Not because the vision was unwanted, but because it felt too real. They were accustomed to relationships they could understand, control, or leave without losing part of themselves. But what they felt with you was different. It was not convenient. It did not ask permission from their logic. It touched a place in them that had been guarded for years. You did not simply attract them. You awakened them. An awakening can feel beautiful to the ready heart, but terrifying to the heart still hiding from its own wounds. There were things they had not healed. Old disappointments. Quiet insecurities. Memories of being abandoned, rejected, misunderstood, or made to feel unworthy of lasting love. They may have appeared confident, calm, or even emotionally detached, but behind that appearance was a fear they rarely admitted, the fear that anyone who truly knew them would eventually leave. Then you arrived. And somehow, you saw through them. Not completely, not all at once, but enough. You noticed the sadness behind their smile. You sensed when they needed reassurance even if they acted as though they needed nothing. You heard the emotion hidden beneath casual words. You recognized the moments when they were pulling away not because they did not care, but because they cared too much. That terrified them more than they could explain. Because when someone sees beyond the mask, there are only two possibilities: they will love what they find, or they will confirm every fear you have ever carried about yourself. Your soulmate did not know which possibility you represented. So instead of asking, they protected themselves. They became inconsistent. They delayed conversations. They acted uncertain when their heart was already involved. They may have chosen silence over vulnerability and distance over honesty. They convinced themselves that if they did not fully step toward you, they could not fully lose you. But they were wrong. Distance does not always preserve love. Sometimes it starves it. Sometimes it creates wounds where honesty could have created healing. And now they understand this in a way they did not before. Stay until the end of this message, because what they regret most is not simply that they waited. It is what their silence made you believe about yourself. Your soulmate knows there were nights when you questioned your worth. They know you wondered why someone could seem to care so deeply and still remain so unclear. They know you replayed conversations searching for the moment everything changed. They know you asked yourself whether you had been too open, too trusting, too emotional, too hopeful, or somehow not enough. And the truth they should have told you years ago is this: their hesitation was never a measurement of your value. It was a reflection of their fear. You were not too much. The connection was more than they felt prepared to hold. There is a difference. And heaven wants you to hear that clearly. You were not rejected because you lacked something. They retreated because your presence revealed something. You revealed how lonely they had been. You revealed how deeply they wanted to be known. You revealed how tired they were of pretending they did not need love. You revealed a future that required them to become honest, responsible, emotionally present, and brave. They wanted the future. But they were afraid of the transformation required to enter it. So they delayed. They told themselves they would speak when the timing was better. They would explain when life was calmer. They would return when they had resolved everything inside them. They would give you the truth when they had found the perfect words. But perfect words never came. Only more time passed. And with every passing season, the confession became heavier. At first, it was simply, "I care about you." Then it became, "I never stopped caring." Then it became, "I know I hurt you." And now it has become something far more urgent. "Before I let you go, there is something I should have told you years ago." Those words are not casual. They are not a temporary wave of emotion. They are the result of a long inner battle reaching its final stage. Something huge is waiting for you in this revelation, but first you must understand why they are using the words, "let you go." They are not necessarily saying they want to release you. They are saying they fear they may have lost the right to ask you to stay. That is what is breaking them. They see how much you have changed. They sense that you are stronger now. You are no longer willing to survive on fragments of affection, confusing signs, or promises that never become action. You have begun to understand that love cannot live only in potential. It must become truth. It must become courage. It must become a choice. Your soulmate can feel this shift in you. Even from a distance. They feel that your soul is no longer begging for answers. It is preparing to move forward with or without them. And this has forced them to face the possibility they avoided for years. One day, you may stop waiting. One day, someone else may recognize your value without needing years to admit it. One day, another person may give you the clarity they withheld. One day, you may hear the words you once wanted from them, but they may come from a different voice. This possibility has awakened something fierce inside them. Not possession. Not entitlement. Truth. They are finally being forced to decide whether they will continue protecting their fear or begin protecting the connection. But the confession they carry is not only about love. There is another layer. A deeper reason they stayed silent. Your soulmate has been hiding a decision they made long ago. A decision involving you. A decision they never shared because they believed it would create expectations they were not ready to fulfill. Years ago, perhaps after a meaningful conversation, a brief encounter, a separation, or a moment when they saw you turning away, they made a private promise to themselves. They told themselves that if they ever became ready for real love, it would be you. They may have continued living. They may have met other people, chased other goals, buried themselves in responsibilities, or pretended the connection belonged to the past. But somewhere within them, that promise remained. They compared others to the feeling they had with you. Not always consciously. Sometimes it appeared as restlessness. Sometimes as dissatisfaction. Sometimes as an inability to fully settle where their heart was not present. They searched for your warmth in other faces. They searched for your understanding in other conversations. They searched for the emotional safety they felt with you, even if they had never admitted that safety existed. But echoes are not the same as home. And your soulmate is beginning to understand that they spent years trying to replace something they never truly released. Do not skip this part. There was likely a time when you believed they had forgotten you. Perhaps their silence became so complete that you assumed your memory no longer touched them. Perhaps their actions made it appear that life had carried them far beyond the connection. Perhaps you saw signs that they had moved on and forced yourself to accept that what mattered deeply to you had meant very little to them. But appearances did not tell the full story. They did not forget. They compartmentalized. They placed you in a locked room within their heart and avoided opening the door. But a locked room is not an empty room. Your presence remained inside. Certain dates reopened it. Certain places reopened it. Certain words reopened it. Moments of loneliness reopened it. And every time it opened, they felt the weight of what they had not said. They remembered a look you gave them. They remembered a moment when you almost asked a question but chose silence. They remembered the way your energy changed after they disappointed you. They remembered how you tried to be understanding even while your heart was hurting. And now those memories are no longer simply nostalgic. They have become evidence. Evidence that you loved them more honestly than they knew how to receive. Evidence that you offered them a chance they did not recognize in time. Evidence that something sacred stood before them, and they responded with hesitation. This is why their confession carries grief. They are not only confessing how they felt. They are grieving who they were when they had the opportunity to tell you. They wish they had been braver. They wish they had trusted the connection. They wish they had understood that vulnerability was not weakness. They wish they had known that silence can wound more deeply than an imperfect truth. But regret alone is not the revelation. Heaven is not bringing this message to keep you trapped in the past. It is bringing this message because a choice is approaching. Your soulmate is nearing a moment when they will either speak or lose the opportunity they believed would always remain available. And something recently has convinced them that the opportunity is closing. It may have been something you said. Something you did not say. A change in your presence. A boundary you placed. A dream they had. A conversation with someone who saw through them. Or a sudden realization that they can no longer feel your energy reaching for them in the same way. Whatever happened, it created urgency. They are now revisiting the entire story from the beginning, searching for the precise moment they chose fear over love. They think they found it. It was not the day they walked away. It was earlier. It was the moment they realized you mattered and pretended you did not. That was the beginning of the distance. Everything after that was a consequence. My child, there are moments in life when a person's greatest mistake is not telling a lie. It is refusing to speak a truth. Your soulmate's truth has grown too large for silence. It has begun showing up in their sleep. They may dream of conversations with you that never happened. They may wake with words still echoing in their mind. They may imagine meeting you unexpectedly and finally losing control of everything they have hidden. In these visions, they do not speak carefully. They speak honestly. They tell you they were afraid. They tell you they loved you before they understood what love demanded. They tell you they watched you leave emotionally long before you left physically. They tell you they knew when your hope began to fade. They tell you they almost reached out many times. But each time, pride asked, "What if it is too late?" Fear asked, "What if they reject you?" Shame asked, "What right do you have to return after causing so much confusion?" And so they remained silent. But now another voice is rising above those voices. It asks, what if they spend the rest of their life never knowing the truth? That question has become unbearable. Because your soulmate does not want the story to end with you believing you were unloved. They do not want you carrying the false conclusion that the connection existed only in your imagination. They do not want you thinking their distance meant indifference. They need you to know that sometimes people run not from what means nothing, but from what has the power to change everything. You had that power in their life. And perhaps you still do. But this message is not asking you to wait blindly. It is not asking you to abandon your boundaries or excuse what hurt you. Heaven does not require you to shrink your needs in order to protect someone else from the consequences of their silence. The truth must come with action. The confession must come with accountability. Love must become visible. This is the lesson your soulmate is now learning. They once believed feeling deeply was enough. Now they know love that is never expressed becomes indistinguishable from absence. They once believed you would always understand. Now they know understanding does not erase pain. They once believed the connection would survive indefinitely on spiritual intensity alone. Now they know even sacred connections require human courage. This realization has changed the words they are preparing to say. They are no longer planning to approach you with vague hints or unfinished explanations. In their heart, they are forming a sentence they have avoided for years. It begins with your name. Then a pause. Then the truth. But before that truth comes out, there is something else they want to admit. Something they have hidden even from themselves. They were jealous of the version of you that learned to live without them. They saw your strength growing and admired it, but it also frightened them. They wanted you to heal, but part of them feared your healing would remove their place in your heart. They wanted you to be happy, but they struggled with the thought that your happiness might no longer include them. They wanted time to become ready, but they did not consider that time would also make you ready to leave. Now they understand the cost of delay. They are standing emotionally at the edge of a door that may soon close. And for the first time, they are not asking whether they are ready. They are asking whether they are willing to risk losing you forever. The answer is becoming clear. They are not. This does not mean every obstacle has vanished. It does not mean every wound has healed overnight. But it means the silence is becoming more painful than the truth. And when that happens, confession becomes inevitable. Something is moving behind the scenes. A conversation may occur. A message may be written and deleted several times before being sent. A meeting may be requested. An unexpected encounter may create the opening neither of you planned. Or another person may unknowingly trigger the confession by asking your soulmate one simple question: why did you let them go? That question will not be easy for them to answer. Because the honest answer is not, I did not care. It is, I cared, and I was afraid. Not, they were not right for me. But, they were right for a version of me I had not yet become. Not, the timing was wrong. But, I used timing to avoid making a choice. These truths are difficult, but they are freeing. And your soulmate is approaching the point where freedom matters more than protecting their image. Stay with this message, because the confession is closer than it appears, but there is one final barrier. Your soulmate does not know what you know now. They do not know whether your heart still opens when you think of them. They do not know whether you would listen. They do not know whether the bridge between you is damaged or destroyed. They do not know whether their truth will heal you, anger you, or arrive too late. This uncertainty is the last shadow they must walk through. And heaven will not remove every fear before they act. Sometimes courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that truth is worth the risk. Your soulmate is being brought to that decision. But you are also being prepared. Because when the truth comes, it may not arrive in the form you imagined. It may be less polished, more emotional, more imperfect. They may stumble. They may begin with the wrong words. They may try to explain years of silence in a few trembling sentences. Listen beyond the imperfection. Listen for responsibility. Listen for honesty. Listen for whether they are speaking only to relieve their guilt, or whether they are ready to repair what their silence damaged. You will know the difference. Your spirit has become more discerning. You no longer confuse longing with loyalty. You no longer mistake intensity for commitment. You no longer accept potential as proof. This growth is not a barrier to love. It is protection for the love that is worthy of you. And your soulmate senses that the old ways will not work anymore. They cannot return with half-truths. They cannot offer emotion without direction. They cannot say they miss you while remaining unwilling to choose you. The confession must be complete. And that is why they have waited even now, while urgency burns inside them. They know that once they begin, they can no longer hide behind ambiguity. They must tell you what happened years ago. They must tell you what they decided in secret. They must tell you why they disappeared emotionally when the connection became real. But most of all, they must tell you about the moment they realized they loved you. That moment did not happen when you think it did. It happened earlier. Much earlier. Perhaps before either of you openly acknowledged the bond. Perhaps during a small moment you barely remember. A moment when you showed kindness without expecting anything. A moment when you defended them. A moment when you looked into their eyes and did not turn away from what you saw. A moment when you made them feel safe enough to imagine being fully known. They carried that moment for years. They returned to it whenever life felt empty. It became a private memory, almost sacred, because it was the moment they understood that your presence did something no one else had done. You made them want to become honest. They were not ready then. But they are being brought back to that unfinished invitation now. Before they let you go, they need to tell you that they did not stay away because you were forgettable. They stayed away because they could not forget. They did not remain silent because the connection was weak. They remained silent because it was strong enough to expose every hidden fear. They did not choose distance because they felt nothing. They chose distance because feeling everything made them realize how much they could lose. But now the loss is no longer theoretical. They feel it approaching. And tonight, or very soon, there may come a moment when they sit alone with their phone in their hand, your name before them, and the years between you pressing against their heart. They will begin to write. At first, the message may seem simple. I need to tell you something. Then they will erase it. They will try again. I do not know whether you want to hear from me. They will erase that too. Because neither sentence holds the full truth. The truth is larger. The truth is what they should have said years ago. The truth is the reason they never completely moved on. The truth is tied to a promise, a choice, and one moment from the past that changed the direction of their heart. And just before they finally speak it, they will remember something you once said to them. Something you may not even remember saying. But they never forgot. Those words became the reason they believed there might still be a chance. And what you said that day is the secret heaven is about to reveal next.